everybody, welcome to the Sharon and Joe Show. My name is Sharon.
Hi, Tribe, my name's Joe.
So Joe and I have been sitting here in our garage for, what do you think, 45 minutes or so?
Yeah, 30 minutes, 40 minutes.
I'm going to tell you something. Joe probably knows the minutes offhand to the second, but he's not going to say it. We've been here for a little bit, and we were talking about what we wanted to do for tonight's video. And ultimately we decided, because, you know, when we make these videos, whether I'm making them on my own or making them with Joe, we talk about 99.99% of the time things that are happening right now. So this is our life in real time. A few days ago, Joe and I had, not an argument, we had a conversation about moving forward. And I was a little bit frustrated because I felt that we weren't moving forward the way that I wanted us to, the way I had hoped that we would. And after having a conversation with Joe, I realized actually we are moving forward. It's just that what I ultimately really want, I want to be able to put a fast forward button on our life, and that's not possible. So Joe and I thought tonight we would talk a little bit about moving forward. How do you know when you've moved forward, and what does it mean?
Yeah, I think even though I don't know how to define it, but maybe somebody out there does, or you, like, define what moving forward means. Like, we're moving forward from, let's say in our case, a hopeless state of being. Like we were at a hopeless point in our lives. I think that part of our recovery not only was from narcissistic abuse, but from ourselves, like the way we thought of ourselves, like the codependency or whatever. So there's like a two-pronged approach. We're looking to recover from ourselves and from the narcissist. And, you know, towards the end of the relationship, is the city is decimated. It is like every building, every town, just about everyone in that city is just gone. And you're left looking at the remnants of the frame of a city hit by like an F5 or category E5 tornado. And you're left there with a few tools. Like for me, it was definitely God. God was pretty much the toolbox. But YouTube, this channel, my faith that was given to me by God, but practicing conscious contact with God. Those were the tools that I had to do to start rebuilding, to move farther and farther away from that web of deceit that I found myself entangled in. So moving forward to me is moving away from a hopeless state of being that I was in, farther and farther. Every day that goes by is space in between. But the recovery process, the shadow work, the inventory, the personal growth had to take place during that time. And then it's like the tool that I use to measure how far I've come is time. Where was I on day one? And let's say this is day 250. Like, where am I at today? And then I can look back, and it helps me see like an honest, like, perspective of, okay, how far have I come really? And it's like one day at a time, like anything else. I didn't jump from 1 to 250. I had to go day 1, day 2. Sometimes it took 2 steps forward or 1 step back, but farther and farther away.
Well, I think it's like losing weight, right? If I wanted to lose, say, 25 pounds and I lose 5 pounds, I might not notice it the way that I will when I've lost the 25 pounds, or people that haven't seen me for a long time, right? Like all of a sudden they see me and I look completely different, but maybe you wouldn't notice it as much because you see me every day. So you're right, there is a time process in moving forward. I think for me, a problem that I tend to have is I know what I want and I want it right now. And I really do just want to put this fast forward button on. So when I was talking to you the other day, it wasn't so much that I didn't realize what we've accomplished or how far we've come, but it wasn't enough. You know, I want to have, I don't know, a year from now or whatever it is now without going through anything in between.
Usually, like, fear is like one of the emotions that gets me to misdirect my anger. Like, I think of fear as like an iceberg, and the 10% at the top is anger, and then the base, 90% of it underneath the surface of the ocean, is the fear. So what happens sometimes is when I'm not where I want to be, and I get angry, I'm usually like upset with myself. I'm also afraid because I can't control anything. I'm permitted to influence at best, do some things, but I always need God involved with that. But I want to point the finger. Like, it's this person's fault or that person's fault. It really isn't me. But when I'm able to process that through, and it goes through the gamut in my mind. And they say, okay, Joe, really, you're not angry, you're afraid. And really, it's because of your own defects or shortcomings, something to do with me. But yeah, we were at a point a couple days ago, you guys were, and Sharon and I get along great. But it was like, I felt at the time, now I'm getting defensive, because I'm disagreeing with her. I'm like, well, we have moved forward. Like, where were we 2 or 3 years ago versus where we are today? And then, then she would get defensive and say, yeah, but when it sounded like when we were talking, it was very general. Like, when I would ask you, like, give me a specific thing that you want to do to move forward, and I'm with you. Let me know. Well, it's, well, this, but it wasn't specific. It's kind of like a general thing. The trick is with us, you guys, is that we're not, I don't know, like, if you ever, I believe that we get untangled from a narcissist, but the truth of the matter is that you're still going through it. Like, the divorce part's over, but the house sale and the proceeds and all that stuff, the little that you are getting, that it's not happening yet. And those things that have to pass yet, like, affect on what kind of decisions we're able to make today. So it's tricky, because you still have, like, for instance, Sharon's ex has been hoovering through emails and letters for the last couple of months. And I'll tell a story later on if I don't forget about my ex that hoovered just today. Literally came up to the front door to pick up my youngest son. So you have all these factors involved, but when you're able to look back and use time as the marker, it's like, it doesn't lie. It's like, holy shit. Like, remember where we were 3 years ago?
Well, Joe and I were talking earlier. We went out for a little drive, and I reminded Joe, though you knew, so I'm not trying to say that you didn't know. Tomorrow's our anniversary. We call it our anniversary. Technically it was when we first started talking, but that's like what we say.
It was our first phone call. My first phone call was 2 years ago to Sharon when I responded to a comment. I left a couple comments here and there. I started listening to Sharon back in, I think, January, February, but March was the first phone call I made to Sharon, and we were on the phone for, 3 hours that night?
It was a long time, and it was the beginning of our life changing.
Friendship, like a friendship that cultivated into, to blossom into a twin flame.
Yeah. And we talked about this though, and it seems like, because I do, you guys, like, sometimes I was so frustrated the other day, and he's right. He's like, what? Like, what do you want to do? Like, tell me, like, I'll do it. Like, what do you want to do? And I'm thinking to myself, I want the future now. And that's what I want. I want to have it, you and me. I want to have, like, the kids grown up, and that's what I want. I want to be able to go out to eat if we want to go out to eat. That's what I'm thinking. And it's not that we can't. Well, I guess we could. We can't. We're trying to be responsible, and we're trying to get our kids in a good place. We're trying to save money. We're doing these things. So it's not like we aren't. But then, like, when I'm talking to Joe, and you're such a good person to talk to, because you really do, like, I'm able to have a good conversation with you. It's not like we're fighting back and forth, and then all of a sudden I'm, like, mad at you because, you were rude, or it's not like that. But I realized at the end, I'm going to give you props, Joe. Probably 99% of the time, if I'm angry with you or upset with you, once I think about it, I do see your point. And it was like that. I wasn't angry with you though, but I realized when you said that, like, what? Tell me, we'll do it now or whatever. And I'm like, I want 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now. That's what I want. And you can't give me 2024 today, but that's what I wanted.
And it's like, I don't want to even put into politics, but there's certain politics where it sounds good and it's for the good of humanity, but when you put it into practice, like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, it affects things in a bad way, and it doesn't go the way that you want. They're saying that the road to hell is paved by good intentions. So, like, the point is that you have an open mind, you're teachable, I learn from you every day, but you're able to say, like, holy shit, I can't tell you exactly what we could do today because we can't. Which brings the fact that, okay, so let's look back in the past. 3 years ago, neither one of us had any money for an attorney. It was just out of the question.
2 years ago.
2 years ago, it was out of the question. My electric was getting shut off, the gas was getting shut off, my car got stolen from my ex. I had 2 kids, a mother-in-law, 2 cats, a dog. Like, I was driving my bike back and forth to work in my 40s. because my car was gone. My kids had to get to school. It was crazy. And to think about where I'm at today, it's like night and day. It's like I'm not where I want to be, but I'm definitely not I'm not where I was. And those are the things I have to think about if I want to have an attitude of gratitude. If you want to start being grateful for the things that I do have, the blessings are abundant. Remember, at nighttime, we used to say all the time, like, guys, I have CPTSD bad, and the anxiety attacks aren't as bad anymore. They come and go. Before it was really bad. And Sharon and I would talk, and we'd say, you know what? Do you have a roof over your head right now? Yes. Do you have water? Yes. Do you have a bed? Yes. Oh, you got a bed? Okay. Are the kids, are they okay tonight? Did they eat? Yes. And all of our needs every day are always met. And not only that, but shit, I had shelter, I had a bed, I had blankets, I had my cats, my dog, like I had an abundance. But you have to look at where you used to be and where you are today in an honest way to have that gratitude, to be like, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, God, for this. Knowing that God is who saved me from this. Narcissism, I always think, is just an underrated, it's just not a fair word to call what
No,
you're
it
doing.
makes somebody sound like they're vain. And I've always thought this. If my ex or your ex or anyone's ex was simply vain, like Joe, if I just thought I was a lot better looking than I am, because that's what people think of narcissism, you could probably live with it. You'd probably roll your eyes here and there, but right? Like I could have lived with that with my ex. I would have been like, oh God, he's so obnoxious. But I wouldn't have felt like I needed to get a divorce or leave somebody because they were vain.
Yeah, it's the personality disorder that comes after narcissistic personality disorder.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like narcissism is used too loosely because if you tell somebody that, oh, my ex is a narcissist, don't you think? I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think it sounds like they're vain.
Well, even when we begin to study and understand a part of the problem, and you read those traits of the DSM-5, like the lack of empathy, like the cold empathy, you would need to be a Buddhist monk to truly meditate on what the hell.
What that means to actually be with someone like that.
Yeah, and what the hell. Like, you'd need to be, for me, a Buddhist monk and meditate on when 99% of the psychiatrists and health professionals say no contact. I mean, to really meditate on it, to mean that these things that you're dealing with are so poisonous. There's no other disorder or mental disorder, anything out there where they say no contact is the only way, like, to begin.
And it's not even just that. It's anybody affiliated with them.
And we highly suggest that anybody that you're affiliated with it, you cut ties to.
Yeah, you don't have mutual friends. Like, you literally cut your friends off if you must.
Yeah, and it's just a suggestion, but isn't it, like, good to have a suggestion to, like, pull the ripcord when you jump out of an airplane? It's life or death when you're dealing with narcissism.
People like us, we understand this in a way that other people cannot. Because you're right. Even like if you just say narcissist and you think vain, or if you say, well, this is somebody without empathy, you can't really fathom what that is until you are Yes, exactly.
You can't do it until you experience it. God, if you experience it, it's a blessing and a curse all at the same time. If you're able to make it through the other side, and there's so many people that have passed away as a result that we'll never hear their voices.
Well, we were talking a little while ago, and I was telling Joe, years ago, I wanted to divorce my ex. Now, I don't remember exactly when this was. It was when my son was 10 or 11. And ultimately, at this time, I decided I couldn't do it because I thought automatically that would mean that I would lose my children half the year. And it just seems so viciously just cruel to be like, to me, to be able to lose my kids.
To a psychopath.
But see, I was going to say, that was when I didn't understand. So I'm thinking these things about my ex, but I didn't understand what narcissism was. Fast forward a few years, and I realized, oh my God, like you have to experience this to understand what it means to be to truly be with a narcissist. I was unhappy, but I didn't know what I was dealing with. Once I started to understand, you are in for the shock of your life, and and you can't explain it to other people. You can't. Yeah.
It took me years to accept that there are things out there like this. Now, I've watched, back in the day, I used to watch all kinds of crime shows and documentaries and serial killers, and God forbid I ever want to meet one of those, but that was like, I could accept that. Like, wow, there's people, but I couldn't accept that there were people out there that didn't necessarily kill that are just as destructive.
But I think we make up in our mind. It's what you know. Like, I think, I don't know, don't you? Maybe not. Like, I really said, I don't want to put words in your mouth. I feel like we think of other people that they're like us. You know what I mean? Like, I thought that with my ex for a long time. I can remember when I knew somebody who died in childbirth. And so that was, and it seems like people don't die in childbirth, but they do. And so I remember when I was pregnant with Paris, I said to my ex at one point that if something happened, choose her over me. And he told me I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that because we can have another baby, but there couldn't be another you. And I'm thinking to myself at the time, wow, like, he's so, like, and it's weird to say, like, I thought, I was like, wow, he's so romantic. You know what I mean? I'm thinking he feels the way that I do about the people that he loves. But and now, like, I know.
You didn't want the responsibility of being a single dad.
Exactly. I'm thinking about now. I know. Oh my God! Like, that would have been if like I had died in childbirth and he was stuck with a baby. Oh my God! I mean, that would have been the last thing he ever wanted. But you know, you think people feel that way. Like, they'll say something and you'll just take it a completely different way. But then when you realize it and you know narcissism, you understand it. It is just, you've been living in hell, literally, but you're not aware. And then when you're aware, and if you get out moving forward, trying to get to the other side, how do you do that? And how do you know that you've actually done it?
Well, there's steps that you take, as I said, at least in my experience and from the experience of others that I know of that recovered the same way. It's a two-pronged approach. You're not only dealing with recovering from narcissistic abuse, you're dealing with, why the hell did I allow myself to go under that for 20 years? Like, what part did I play in that? So there's two enemies: the old you and your old ideals and values, and then there's the narcissist. In my experience.
I agree with you, because I think one of the things that people don't understand or recognize until you're deep in the process, you have to work on yourself. It's not just, well, you know what, my ex was a narcissist, or you know, this happened or that happened. It's what you just said. Sure. Why did I let this happen? Like, how? The way that we think, it may, I mean, I'm not blaming people with narcissists, because I think you can't prepare for something like this. But at the end of the day,
after 20 years of getting burned over the fire, you got to take some kind of responsibility for yourself. I think
you do, yes, because you, like, and you said it to me years ago, right? Well, I guess not that many years ago, because we only know each other for 2. But you said to me at one point, you know, what was your part in this? And we do have a part in it, even if it's an innocent part where, you know, you misjudge somebody, but it's like you said, 20 years, you know, why?
Well, not only that, but just because we have empathy doesn't mean that we can be shitty people sometimes.
Right.
And have shitty values and like be selfish and self-centered.
Empaths aren't perfect people either.
No, we're far from it, man.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of screwed up ones, like myself, but so I had to learn about my own defects of character. So the further I got into, wow, Joe, you're pretty screwed up, I got more concerned about, oh my God, like, I don't want to be this way. Thank God that we have, you know, insight, and if we're able to be honest with ourselves, those are the tools needed to be able to bring these things to the light. I became less and less focused on a narcissist because I was concerned with how screwed up I am. And I found out that I was codependent, and I had low self-worth and low self-esteem and all these things. And wow, there's some decisions I made that might have not been best for the kids because I was emotionally thinking and not logically using my brains. So that's part of the recovery. The tool I use to see how far I've come is the time. And looking back to where I was 2 years ago to where I am today, even though it's not where I want to be, it's definitely not where it was. And then I got to put my faith in certain things have to happen for us to make decisions, and they're out of our hands. So it's, all right, Dad, God, I call Dad, you didn't bring us this far to drop us on our head. So I trust you, man. And in the meantime, do the things that I can do, like to participate in my own change, and then let God do the rest.
Joe and I, and this has helped us tremendously as we move forward. And I do think, don't you, maybe, like, for the most part, I believe that we're on the other side. Every once in a while, you know, my ex or your ex can get like a tentacle in and... Simple question,
not to cut you off. Were you hopeless at one time?
Oh, hell yes.
Do you have hope today?
Yeah.
then you've recovered. It's as simple as that. I mean, we got to keep it simple. Keep it simple, stupid. But yeah, it's that. If you can answer that question, then you've recovered. But it's a daily reprieve, like, because we have to have our armor on. We have to, like, stay as close to Dad, God, as possible, because these things, I don't think that once in their head that you're theirs forever. So, and in reality, though, we don't have to be. We're capable of change. They're maladaptive. But yeah, the Hoovers come in years later, whatever, just looking to a malignant one, looking to just get you to react, or one trying to suck you back in with their tentacles. So you have to be on guard and always remember not who, but what you're dealing with.
Yeah, I agree with you. I try to do that too when I think about, and you're the one that said that, because that's really, I think, for anybody trying to move forward. If you're looking at it as like another person, you're going to naturally have empathy for them. And you said it earlier tonight, Joe, and I was talking to you. We lived literally in hell, and we had no business being there. So if we don't every day set our sights, like I know this sounds hokey, but it's true. Every day is a new day to start again, or to just like refresh yourself. Okay, this is how I am. This is my new life. This is what I choose to do. And if you focus on what you like, I do this every day. I believe thank God, I have a great relationship with God. I didn't always. And it's so easy when things go wrong to kind of slip back. Every day, the first thing I do when I wake up is thank God. And I go to this website, dailyverses.net, and there's a Bible verse. And I read it, I think about it, I meditate on it. I read my Bible every day. When I stay close to God, that's when I make good decisions for myself. But see, it's good with you, Joe, because even sometimes, like a couple days ago, when I was so frustrated, and I wasn't mad, like we weren't having a fight.
No, it wasn't a fight.
But I was just like
frustrated.
I was frustrated because I wanted the future now. I wanted to be settled in our new life, and I wanted everything. I wanted to put a nice, neat bow around everything.
And there's a couple of things I have to say about that. One, consequences for our decisions for staying with that abuse for so long, and two, like, even as empaths, our need to control things. We want to control everything. I found out in my own experience, a lot of times this is narcissists at an extreme level, but I also am selfish or self-centered. Like, I like to control, like, people, places, things in a way where I get the desired outcome, but I'm not in control. God's in control. And I've got to allow him to be where he's at so that he could do what he could do. As I said, he didn't bring us this far to drop us on our head. It's practicing my faith. Okay, God, I love you. I trust you. Whatever you want to do. Because even if I didn't love and trust him, it's going to be whatever it's going to be anyways. I have no power over that.
Yeah, that's a hard thing to accept, that we really don't have power. Because you're right. Everybody wants power. Like even the other night, I wanted you to, I don't even know what I wanted you to do, because you were offering to do anything. Like, what do you want? Tell me. I wanted, I guess, essentially, without even realizing it, I wanted you to give me another day. I wanted it to be September 20th or whatever it is. You know what I mean? That's what I wanted. But I have to, just all of us, we have to live through each day, but just remember where you were and where we are now and where we strive to be as time goes on.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
So I guess we're going to end this now. I don't know if you can hear this, but we have one of our dogs, and she's scratching. I'm sure it's Fiona.
I bet it's Belle.
Oh,
you want to go find out? Let's find out. Hold on, guys.
Right,
I'm going to put to see the couple.
Guys, I'm telling you, it's
Belle's
Fiona.
the Bichon, and Fiona's... Oh, it's hard to tell.
They're both standing there.
They're probably both of them.
Yeah, probably. All right, guys, so we tied. All right, where's Fiona?
Come on.
Here they come. All right, you guys, thank you. Joe, will you be back next week?
Yeah, God willing. Absolutely.
All right, so we will talk to you guys next week. But just remember, it's frustrating moving forward, but the best thing is remember where you were and where you are. And if you see progress, you're moving forward, and eventually you'll get to the other side where you want to be.
And remember, it's progress, not perfection.
With those wise words from Joe, we're going to end it now. God bless you guys.
Bye, guys.